I have a question for you guys, and this is a serious question, so feel free to put your thoughts in the comment section below. Okay, number one, can you tell the difference between when I'm looking at the screen and when I'm looking at the camera, and which one do you prefer? That wasn't the question, but it is now. The second and most important question of today is, what do you consider a long time? I ask that because I just had a conversation with my friend Jade, and we were talking about how society has really shifted into such an instant gratification society so much that we really have a skewed perspective of a long time. I was mentioning to her some Facebook posts that I saw about specifically in the gym community about people getting very frustrated with their journey 2 to 3 weeks in wanting to give up. And I'll admit, I felt a little frustrated with that because not at the person necessarily, but at this whole ideology that things are supposed to happen quickly, right? I even saw a guy on TikTok the other day that had just started and only posted 5 videos, and he was saying how he thought he'd be further along after like 3 days, and he had quite a few followers. Like, he made like 20, 30 followers in like 3 days, which is a lot of people. If you convince 30 people in 3 days to come to your TED Talk or your in-person conference, like that would be a big deal. That would be crazy. People would be like, 3 days, you got 30 people in a room to hear you talk and say that they liked it, give you a thumbs up in 3 days. That's insane. That's crazy. Or you worked on a project for only 2 weeks and it resulted in you doing all of these things. Like, Rome wasn't built in a day. Have we not heard that? Are we losing recipes and phrases out here? And I know I sound frustrated, but I think that my frustration comes from what is robbed from putting unrealistic time limits on the work, right? And how much of our impatience really affects how well we do in a given situation. If we are not patient enough to respect the process, if we are not patient enough to respect the journey and how long that may or may not take, we are more apt to give up. We are more apt to not have gratitude in the moment. We are more apt to miss opportunities because we are not focused on moving forward and seeing the opportunities in front of us instead of looking at, oh my goodness, look how much time has passed behind me. And that's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate. It is a lack of discipline of the mind, but it is also like a lack of trust in the process and knowing that although I understand our society really puts this pressure on, you have to, like, time is money and you only have today and you have to do it now, you have to be a millionaire tomorrow and the world is ending and all of these things. But the truth is, when we are present and we are more appreciative of the journey and the things that we are going through in the process, it allows us to not only be excited for the things in the future that we're working towards, but allow us to enjoy the journey on the way. Because what is the point of like hating every ounce of every part of the journey that you're on only to look at the finish line and only then be happy? And if that is only the moment that you can be happy is at the finish line, eventually the race has to end and you will find yourself unfulfilled chasing another high that continues in the cycle. When you could sometimes just enjoy the run. You can enjoy the race and still train hard, still work towards your dreams, still get to that finish line and feel worthy and enjoy the process throughout. Does that mean everything's going to be easy? No, more than likely not. That's the work, right? The emotional work. Everything that I'm talking about is not just the physicality of the work and energy that you have to put towards it, but there are so many mindset work processes you have to go through when you're developing a habit or starting something new or creating a new project or going through a new process. You have to be disciplined. You have to be patient. You have to be kind. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be introspective. You have to be willing to pivot and stay the course. Continue the journey even when you don't when you're not seeing the results that you want to see immediately. Giving it time to trust the process and see things come to fruition in the time that they require. That in itself requires grace. It requires the accountability and the discipline and the mental fortitude to keep going, but it also requires grace to give the journey and the path the time that it needs. Like, you have to get to the next space, and that takes time. And sometimes rushing that process and doing it with impatience actually restarts your process and gets you further away from your goal at hand. I want us to be kind to ourselves, but I also want us to be strong-minded and know that everything does not happen in 2 weeks. There's a concept of, your 10,000 hours, which is like 10 years of experience before you are an expert in something, before you can see the fruition of your work. Now, does that mean everything takes 10 years and 10,000 hours? No, not necessarily. But even understanding that 10,000 hours and 10 years is the average for most people that you see are successful at any level when they are overnight successes. Most overnight successes are 10 and 15 years in the making. But our society has not only tricked us into thinking that the highlight reel when we see people is the beginning of their process, but we also take away the power of everything before because we don't share it. We don't share all of those years behind us. That brings me really to one of the things that inspired me to start this challenge, which was going back onto Doechie's old videos. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen that viral clip when she was talking about how she went through the process of the Artist Way book, and that sparked some curiosity in me. And that I'm a researcher through and through. If there's something that sparks curiosity, you better believe I'm about to research it. And that led me to scrolling back 3, 4, 5 years on Doechie's page and watch her capture and speak and articulate where she was at each stage of her journey. And it was not only something for her to look back on for herself, but also for those of us who are willing to go and seek out that version of her, learn more about her. And I thought that was so powerful because those videos were 5 years ago, and she was already on her path. I'm sure maybe I could scroll back even further. That's just where I got when I went on her page. Most of us haven't heard of Doechii, until maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3. If you know. I was not in the know. I only learned of Doechii like a year and a half ago of actually knowing who she was, not realizing that some of the songs that I actually liked were her songs because I didn't know who she was. I knew I liked the song, but I didn't know who she was, right? Her process was years in the making. Just like there are people who don't know that Beyonce was part of Destiny's Child, and there were many members of Destiny's Child that people don't know of. The Beyonce we know now, the people that, think that she's overrated or whatever, like, you can't deny that there's decades of experience that led to the person that you see now. And there are many people like that. Now, the internet has shifted that to speed up the timeline for certain people and certain things. But even then, if you look back, a lot of the OG YouTubers, a lot of the people that are at the top of their game, yes, they might have started young. Maybe they were 9 years old on YouTube. But 10 years later and they're 19, now they're the hottest thing online. Do overnight successes happen on occasion? Yes. Is that the rule? No, that is the exception. And even then, a lot of times those are hard foundations to continue to build on, right? A strong foundation takes time to build. So when you are working on the things that are getting you closer to your goals, when you are creating your dreams, when you are manifesting and praying and walking into the light of your future self, please allow yourself the time it takes to get there, okay? Even a GPS will tell you how long it takes to get there. And yeah, you might shave off a minute or two. You might be a speed racer on the highway and get there faster, but it still takes time. You're not shaving off an hour. More times than not. And if you are, it's probably dangerous. You might be endangering yourself and other people. You might have broken some laws to get there, which is pretty apt for some of the ways that people skip the line of their process. And I promise you, even if you skip the line, if you rush your process and try to cheat yourself of the necessary work, the things you avoid internally will always come back, and you'll find yourself battling your own demons and having much more to lose because you skipped the emotional work, but it will always come back. So I think my point of this rant is that things take time. That is okay. That is normal. I think we should normalize understanding that processes take time. And there should be no shame in that. We should celebrate people that are giving themselves time to grow, to change, to evolve, to shift, to pivot. And the expectation that things come overnight, we should really challenge that. We should really challenge that and ask ourselves, what emotional work are we robbing ourselves of doing? Because it is uncomfortable or inconvenient, or we lack the patience and the mental discipline to do the internal work. I don't want to be that person. So when I find myself in those positions, I always try to lean into the discomfort and allow myself to be challenged. Because in the challenge, there is growth. And on the other side of growth, or the other side of discomfort, is the growth that gets me to the type of life that I want to live. And that I know I'm worthy of, and I know that you're worthy of. So I know some of you guys are working on things, and I know it seems like it's not happening fast enough, and I know it seems like it's taking a long time. And that's okay. I can't tell you that it's going to speed up. I can't tell you that the timeline that you want is even the timeline that it will happen. But I can say that if you continue with intent towards your dreams, you will see a payout over time. Continue to listen to yourself. Know when you are in alignment with the path that is best for you. And also give yourself permission to change your path when necessary. If you're feeling like, okay, I've been on this path for a long time, not 2 weeks, but you've been on the path for a long time and it's not working, or it's not bringing you joy, or you no longer feel motivated and passionate about it, then now you have the opportunity to ask yourself what is really best for you. What direction do you want to move in next? And you get to create a new idea of what your life will look like. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great week. I love you so much. I braided my hair. I'm really liking this. I have a meeting with the new gym that I'll be training at tomorrow. And I don't know, something about the braid gives trainer, right? It's the gym is not Crunch. I know that's probably deceiving. This is from when I worked at a Crunch. But what do you guys think? Does the ponytail give trainer? I think so. I feel like all of the athletic girls that I grew up with, like the baseball girls, the soccer girls, they always had a braid in their hair. What do you guys think? All right. Love you so much. Bye-bye.